Thank you to everyone who's joining us. Good afternoon and welcome to our distinguished guests, our community members and leaders, city staff, and also the family and friends and relatives of the whole reason we're here today, and that's Mr. Captain Robert Manning Gray. Also, welcome to Colonel Stokes and also to Sergeant Major Hall and our city manager. I believe I see, yes, some VFW members. Welcome to you all. Thank you guys for coming each year, and any other veterans organizations that we have here. We truly appreciate you guys taking the time out to come and recognize and celebrate and honor this moment each year. This day was first proclaimed in 1942 and celebrated in 1943. So this year marks 81 years of ensuring that the memory of Bob Gray lives on. Each year we gather and we pay tribute to a hero whose courage soared higher than the planes that he piloted. We're excited to come together on this date every year to remember a World War II pilot whose valor and whose sacrifice will forever be etched in America's history. I would now like to introduce you to our Mayor Debbie Nash-King, who will bring some remarks, followed by Garrison Commander Colonel Stokes. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. Hello to everyone, and I appreciate each of you coming out to commemorate this special remembrance. As I was preparing for this event, of course, the word hero and legend came to mind, and even more so, the word legendary. The dictionary describes a legendary person as someone who is well known with many stories told about him or her. If you speak to the family members or read past articles on Robert Manning Gray early days, he was described as someone who liked to bring a smile to people's face through his childhood pranks. Neighbors also say he was fun-loving, always willing to help others, and he grew up with a sense of duty and respect for his country. The dictionary also describes a legendary person as someone who is celebrated, acclaimed, an icon, and even famous. As Janelle mentioned, we've been celebrating this day since former Mayor R.T. Polk proclaimed it as Bob Gray namesake. Both residents and businesses flew their flags proudly on this day in 1942, rallying around him. They heard the news that he was flying their third plane in Doolittle Historical Raid. His spirit will and always live on. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We will now welcome up Garrison Commander of Fort Cavazos, Colonel Lakeisha Stokes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, families, and members of Fort Cavazos Garrison and the city of Killeen. It is my privilege to stand before you today as we gather to commemorate the annual Robert Gray Day celebration here at Killeen Regional Airport. As we come together to honor the memory of Captain Robert Gray, we are reminded of his profound impact on both the history of Killeen and the annals of American heroism. Today, we are privileged to have with us Captain Gray's family members, whose presence serves as a living testament to his enduring legacy. In delving into the life and legacy of Captain Robert Gray, I was struck by several poignant reflections. Firstly, Captain Gray embodied the very essence of Killeen, whether it was riding his beloved horse, Whiskey Pete, through the streets, excelling in football as Bullet Bob at Killeen High School, or proudly participating in local agriculture shows. His roots ran deep in the soil of this community. It is impossible to recount the history of Killeen without intertwining the narrative of Captain Robert Gray. Secondly, the brevity of Captain Gray's life belied the magnitude of his accomplishments. In his mere 23 years, he traversed a remarkable journey from his formative years in Killeen to his education at Tarleton State and Texas A&M. His service in the Reserve Officer Training Corps, his mastery of aviation, to his heroic involvement in the Doolittle Raid over Tokyo. His life serves as a testament to seizing every moment and living with purpose. Lastly, Captain Robert Gray epitomized the ethos of selflessness and bravery that defined his generation. His unwavering commitment to duty was exemplified on that fateful day of April 18, 1942, when he embarked on the perilous Doolittle Raid. Despite knowing the odds stacked against him, he pressed forward, displaying remarkable courage and leadership. His actions not only underscore his personal valor, but also symbolize the resolute spirit of the American people in the face of adversity. If Captain Gray were among us today, I have no doubt that he would marvel at the spirit of partnership, camaraderie, and unity that permeates between Fort Cavazos and the city of Killeen. Together, we stand as a testament to the enduring legacy of service and sacrifice that Captain Gray embodied. In closing, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for gracing us with your presence at today's ceremony. Your attendance honors the memory of Captain Robert Gray and reaffirms our collective commitment to never forget the sacrifices of those who came before us. Thank you for allowing me the privilege of participating in this esteemed Robert Gray Day celebration. Thank you.
We will now invite Mayor Nash-King as well as the family members of Bob Gray up as we read the ceremonial proclamation. It's up to you. You can if you'd like to.
Thank you. Hey, sir, how are you? Hey, sir, how are you? Good to see you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I just got a little cold. It's always an honor to always read this proclamation on this special day. City of Killeen, whereas Robert Bob Gray, a Killeen native and brave soldier, participated in the Doolittle Raid and distinguished himself an American hero on April 18, 1942. And whereas Gray received his wings in 1941 when he was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Army Air Corps and quickly became a top B-25 pilot. And whereas Lieutenant Colonel James H. Doolittle selected Gray as one of the 80 crew members to participate in the famous Doolittle Raid 80 years ago to deliver the first strikes against Japan in World War II. And whereas Gray successfully completed his mission, but he died 6 months later in China, Burma campaign. And through his service, even though it was short, his legacy remains in American history. And whereas Gray is part of Killeen history, and we continue to honor him to this day with the Robert Gray Army Airfield on Fort Cavazos, Gray Street in downtown Killeen, and with a historical display and bronze statue in the Killeen Regional Airport. And whereas former Mayor R.T. Pope proclaimed April 18th Bob Gray Day in Killeen for the duration of time in order that flags will fly from every socket flagpole in the community. And the day will be set aside permanently as a memorial to a brave heart that winged its way into the very vital of the enemy territory, destroyed military objective that was calculated to bring harm and destruction to our great country. And whereas it is my honor as mayor to continue the tradition of honoring his legacy, and therefore I, Debbie Nash-King, by the virtue of authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Killeen, do hereby proclaim April 18, 2024 as Bob Gray Day. Thank you.
all right in front to take a photo, please.
Colonel Stokes, Sergeant Major, Mr. King.
Yes. Okay, thank you. We will now invite Mr. Mark Manning up to actually give some remarks.
I need to see a third one.
And you are a third cousin, correct?
Right.
All right, thank you.
I guess you go back here. Why don't you handle that?
You want
I'm
me
just
to
gonna,
hold this?
I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna give
You
you a
want
few.
me to sit down?
You can sit down, hold it. Yeah.
Okay.
So each year I am privileged to provide some Bob Gray color because he had such a personality, and part of the thing that we use as family members to remember him is reading some letters to the family of Fred Page. And Freddie Page used to always, and his wife used to always be at these events. And now they're no longer with us, but their daughter's with us today. And again, other family members have been here before. So we like to read these letters because it kind of tells you who he was. I mean, if you think about a guy who was 22 when he left this earth, so that means his short travel to combat and the war was short-lived, but he packed in a lot of adventure in between. One of the last memories that Killeen has of him is he actually flew his twin-engine V-25 bomber over Killeen and was going to land on Highway 190. That's what he told his parents. But that wasn't a great plan, but that was the other Bob thinking that this would be interesting to do. But as it turned out, he circled a couple of times and then waved and smiled and then flew on. And again, that plane and his crew would eventually be aboard a ship that would go on to his mission. But I always thought that was interesting that was his way of saying goodbye to Killeen, a quick flyover. And there's other stories that he actually buzzed some buildings a little too close, but I'm not going to pass those along because I don't know them for sure. But let me just read a letter that he wrote to the family members, his aunt and uncle and the kids. And the kids include your father, Freddie Page. And it says, "Dearest auntie, uncle, and kids, well, there has been no letters from home yet, and I've been away for about 4 months. I guess you have written, but I'm sure I'll get the blues when I don't receive any. I got one of them from a little gal I used to know, but that's the only one. We have been working about 15 hours a day, and that gets pretty tiresome. I've had one short leave, and it was a big help. You see, it is in the middle of monsoon weather, and it's about 100 degrees and raining most of the time. We live on a huge plantation where tea is grown, and it provides most of the world's tea. We only have to go about 30 miles, and we're in the jungle, and 50 miles to the Himalayan mountains. I have seen Mount Everest and the Taj Mahal. I've been in all the big cities but one, Bombay, and I hope to get there before I leave. I've been in China from the East Coast to India, and 125 miles of that was on foot. I have had a wonderful experiences, and I'd like to come back to the States because they promised us that we could after we finished our big mission. I will be thankful if I can get home for Christmas. If not, I'm going to raise plenty blank. Well, anyway, I'll sign off. So write soon and be sweet. Love, Bob. So that's the Bob Gray that we try to remember. And so think about this. He just detailed what all he'd seen in that short period of time, 4 months, again, after the raid, but he's been held over for missions in that theater. And so he's flying planes on mission, bombing missions and supply missions. And he's talking about all the adventure he's had. So he lived his life to the fullest, and I don't think he was careless about his life. I think he wanted to come back to Killeen. In fact, he talked about having a ranch when he came back. But as it turned out, this is the way it worked for him, and he seemed to have a good attitude about it. I'll read one last remark that he gives in one of those letters. When I've done my little on this earth, whether I'm in China, India, or in my bed at home, he will call me and I will go. If I do not come back, have no regrets or fear, for I'll be with him, I know. And he wrote that in a letter dated September 29, 1942. And of course, the next month, he was killed in the theater. So again, let's remember that Bob Gray. And again, remember the commitment and the tie-in that we have here locally, because he was one of Killeen's boys and Killeen's families. But like many families, as we always remember on Veterans Day, many families sacrificed that son and in some cases a daughter for the cause of freedom. So we thank the city of Killeen for this ceremony each year. And again, the family thanks you for remembering the great Robert Manning Gray. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. As we close out, just want to say that Bob Gray was not merely just a pilot. He's a symbol of resilience. He's a beacon of hope. As a young man, he answered the call of duty without hesitation, joining the ranks of brave men and women who took to the skies to defend freedom and justice. He had a commitment, along with his fellow service members, to uphold the values for which they fought. As always, I challenge everyone to look within themselves and recommit themselves to the ideals for which he fought, striving to build a better world where the sacrifices of heroes like Bob Gray are never forgotten. Thank you. Please enjoy. You can stand around and you can actually fellowship. You can look at the historic artifacts and enjoy some of the, I thought it was punch, but it's water and cupcakes over here. But thank you so much for coming out, and we will see you again next year. Have a great evening.